This is Amplify You, the podcast about you discovering your message and broadcasting it to the world. If you're a coach, author, or speaker, you'll want to tune in. If you're looking for the best return on your time investment to get your message out to the world in a bigger way, we're giving you full access and behind the scenes look of how we're running our podcast, how our clients have found success, and what you can do to launch your podcast today. The world needs your message. I'm Michelle Abraham, the host. Join my family as we unleash your unique genius and find the connections you need to launch your adventure today. Join us and let's get amplified. Hello, Amplify You family. Michelle Abraham, your host here today with an amazing behind the mic interview. Today, I've got Bronson Hill with me today. How are you, Bronson?
I'm doing well, Michelle. Really excited to be here. I love talking about podcasting and growing your business. And this is obviously a great way to do it. And you guys are doing an amazing job in this space. So really excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. Let me tell you guys a little bit more about Bronson, and specifically, guess what? He is a podcaster. This is why we're doing Behind the Mic. But not only is he a podcaster, he's also an amazing podcast guest too. So you have a show that Bronson would be a great fit for. Make sure you get your ears open and listen to all the great things Bronson's going to tell us today and book him on your show as well. You can reach out to us to help you do that connection as well. So Bronson's got a podcast called the Mailbox Money Podcast, which is passive investing with Bronson Hill. And I think that's an awesome name for your podcast, by the way. Very cool. But let's tell them a little bit more about what else you do, what else you're up to. So Bronson is the managing member of Bronson Equity, and Bronson is a general partner in 2,000 multifamily units worth over $200 million. And I'm sure as people tell me the numbers when I'm going on a podcast, those numbers are always changing and going up. So I'm sure they've even more advanced since the last time we updated that bio. Bronson co-leads a large in-person multifamily meetup in Pasadena, California called FIBI, Pasadena Multifamily. And Bronson, as we just mentioned, is the host of the Mailbox Money Show, and he understands the investor mindset, having spoken individually over the phone with over 1,200 investors and having raised over $25 million in real estate deals. Bronson is also the author, How to Use Inflation to Your Advantage, and is a regular contributor to YouTube and his blog. Bronson is the capital raising coach at Kingdom REI, a faith-based faith-based group. That is a tongue twister there, isn't it? Helping investors find deals and raise funds for large real estate deals. So Bronson, you are a man that wears many hats and you got lots going on. So tell us about your podcasting journey. Like, when did you start your show? What inspired you to start your show?
Yeah, so I didn't start my show right away. I started my business a couple of years ago. I'd been doing, multifamily real estate for about 4 or 5 years, real estate a long time before that. And I started with doing a monthly webinar, just kind of an event. And then I realized, man, I want to just put more content out there. And so now we're doing a weekly, just once a week podcast, which has been great. We also posted on YouTube as well. And it's been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. You have a lot of great conversations as a host that you would never really have within others. You just call up and you basically you ask all the questions you want, and you get to let your audience kind of lean in and just, be a part of that as well. So it's been a lot of fun, and obviously learned a lot about how to do it and things to ask and how to structure that. But I think it helps you as an individual, helps you as a communicator, and it gives you a lot more content to be able to put out to the world, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your strategy been for reaching out to guests? Are you trying to open doors for new relationships, or what are the kind of guests that you're looking for on your show?
Yeah, so I typically our audience really are primarily passive investors, typically business owners or people that are trying to figure out how to replace their income or their living expenses with passive income, which is possible. It's something I did, other people have done. So, and once you do that, you don't always necessarily have to replace your income. You can replace, I realized for me, I could replace something like $60,000 a year, and that was enough for me to live comfortably enough on. And then I could actually leave my great corporate job I was making over $200K a year doing. So when it comes to actually guests on my show, I try to talk about issues like reducing or paying zero taxes, which is absolutely possible, using inflation to your advantage. So you're not the one who's feeling the pain, you're the one who's actually taking advantage of that. We talk about real estate investing. We talk about other alternative assets and just really the skills it takes to grow your wealth over time, especially in these changing economic times.
Awesome. And I love that you're not just like focused on when you're going out as a guest, you're not just focused on being on the other real estate shows, you're really focused on the lifestyle shows because this obviously transformed your lifestyle from being an employee to like, oh wow, like I can replace that income fairly easily. So that has been like kind of like a driving force for you and looking at other shows to get on as a guest too. Those are the kind of shows that we're looking for you because those are the people that you can really make a huge impact on their lives.
Right. There's a term called blue ocean marketing. Basically there's this idea, and there was a book that came out about the strategy that there's a lot of people, like if I just stay in the real estate space or in the investing space, it's kind of a red ocean. I mean, there's lots of sharks in the water and they're fighting for the same fish and there's all this blood in the water, whatever. Versus if you get out to an area where there's not a lot of real estate people, not a lot of investing people in the lifestyle or entrepreneur or other space, it's a way that I can really help educate people in that space that don't know a lot about, oh, can you actually passively invest in real estate without having to manage toilets and tenants and getting calls in the middle of the night? Yeah, it's absolutely possible to have passive income. So I love being able to do something a little bit different and really serve an audience that a lot of people are really not serving. So that's why I love, and I think that's applicable to anybody's show, is just try to get something a little bit outside of what you would normally think the type of person would be in, and go reach somebody outside of just your own industry, which I think can make it really give your show a much wider audience.
Absolutely. I had that experience this summer. I normally speak at entrepreneurial conferences where I'm the podcasting person, but I went to a podcasting festival and I was like, wait a second, everyone here is doing the same thing I'm doing. How is that such a red ocean? So yeah, I can totally relate. Awesome. So how long have you had your show for?
So my show's been going, I think we're about maybe 65 episodes recorded. It started a year ago, July. So it's been, maybe about 14, 15 months. So at least maybe a little longer than that. So yeah, it's definitely been a journey. Sometimes I'll go where I'll record, 3 episodes in a day, and then I won't record for a month. And I'm like, oh, I got to catch up on doing some more shows. So I feel like doing a weekly show has been kind of a good pace for me. Some people wonder, should I do daily? There's people in our industry that do daily. Some people do twice a week. Mm-hmm. And once a week just feels about right. It feels like it's something I can keep up with. I can do enough. I can do it well. We can really promote it. We can do all the social media. We can do everything. And so I've really enjoyed kind of that pace and not doing, one a day or 2 a week or something like that.
And I can tell you still really enjoy it. And that's the key.
Yeah, I do.
Enjoy it after a year. That's a great thing. So I noticed that you guys do a really great job of promoting your episodes. You do a really great job on social media. So tell us a little bit about your strategy, what you guys are doing there.
Yeah, so we have a plan. I mean, it really, I think one thing I've learned about my business, particularly having a thought leadership platform, or if you're somebody who's an influencer, and if you have a podcast, really you are an influencer. You're basically reaching people, you're creating an audience. And so the more ways you can connect with your audience, the better. So we have a process. And again, I've created, repeatable processes. I created a Google document or some sort of, here we do this in this case, and we send it out here, and we send the guests here, your episode went live, and we post on social media, LinkedIn and Facebook, which are most of the people that we're trying to reach are on. And we're trying to shift to do some of the other platforms as well. But it's just having those repeatable processes and tagging the guests on there, or letting them know their episode's live. And it's amazing that, just by putting things out there, people connect with your stuff. And I'm always amazed when people, read my emails, or they listen to podcasts, or they, download them. There's just something that they're finding value from. That's really what we're doing, is we're trying to provide as much value to people as we can. So it could be through a podcast, could be through an ebook, it could be through a course, it could be through something, but whatever we're doing, if we can reach people, we have to reach people with the message first. And so it can be really frustrating when you're first starting, because it's like, man, is anybody, maybe my mom's listening to this, but is anybody else listening? Right. But the more we learn about it, the more we learn how to scale. It's just consistency, doing it day in, day out, every day, every week. And the more I do that, the better it gets.
Yeah, that consistency really plays a key role in this for podcasters. And it's interesting because, 75% of shows don't make it past episode 20. So, wow. And I think that's a lot to do with you start off with you thinking about, you're going to talk about, one thing, and you end up talking about another. Has your messaging changed over the course of the last year and a half, or have you stayed consistent with the same sort of messaging?
Yeah, I'd say it's been pretty consistent. Who I'm trying to reach is the same. The intro, outro, everything's the same. It's just basically to continue to keep in mind who I'm trying to reach. I didn't realize that 75% of shows don't make it past episode 20. But I think, if it's something that you're passionate about and you enjoy, And I mean, there's so many topics that I love talking about around finance and around taxes and around what's changing and what's happening. I mean, I probably could have a daily, like there's so many things I could talk around it, which is so interesting. So I think, whatever topic people do, the people can shift, but it's got to be something that you find really interesting. Because when I talk about or ask questions, like people can tell, hey, man, he's really interested in talking about money and talking about passive income and taxes. And like, I love that stuff. And some people would be like, dude, that's the most boring thing ever. Right. But I love it. So for me, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like I just had a show I did earlier. I had somebody on my show, and we had an awesome conversation. It was amazing. Like we only do like a 30-minute show, but I was like, man, I wish we had like an hour and a half. I could have had so much to talk about through that. So I think it's got to be something that really drives your passion.
Right. Yeah. I think that's such a key piece to keeping the excitement going and the long-term growth of the show. Because we really start to snowball after a few months. It grows over month, those listeners, which is amazing. That takes a little bit of that. Like sometimes you feel like you're pushing a snowball up the hill for the first few months, and then it just starts feeling more natural and get more and more listeners, which is amazing. Do you find that you have a favorite episode that you have done, or like, is there one that you're like, everyone should listen to this one first? It's the best one.
Oh man. I mean, there's a bunch. Now I'm starting to put, as a show, I do these webinars, and I'm starting to put these on there where I have an expert panel of 3 experts in there. And so I've got those going out every month now. And so I've just kind of worked that into the mix as well. And those are awesome. I mean, I get honestly on those, I get names that I couldn't get just on my podcast because it's a much wider audience. And then a lot of these promote to their audience. We'll get somewhere between 80 and 300 people live. And then plus the people that watch on a replay or listen on a replay. So I love that. And I think, obviously any of the stuff I'm putting out there is great. It depends kind of what your interests are. I'm learning about too, I think this is something actually I'd love your thoughts on as well, but just getting people to write reviews or to put 5 stars. I've just realized like I even evaluate shows based on how many reviews or how many stars they have. Right. So I'm trying to get now my audience to actually go in and, hey, it would really be, would help us a lot if you could just take 30 seconds, go write a review or put a 5-star. That would just mean the world to us. And, something like that. So I don't know if you have any tricks on that, but that's something I'm working on.
Yeah, that's a great strategy. I can give you 2 quick tips and then we'll get back to you.
Right.
Well, tip number 1 is read the reviews out on the show. So your listeners are like, get some FOMO. They're like, I want him to read my review too. So if you read out the reviews on the show and thank them for the review, I actually got a card in the mail thanking me for giving someone a review. And they said that they shouted it out on episode 169. So thanks for the review. And we shouted it out, that was cool. Like, how cool is that? I got a card in the mail about that. And then the second thing is you can always do a contest too. So that's something we help our clients do when they're launching, is do a quick contest to help them boost that momentum of getting people to their show and giving them some reviews right out of the gates. I also have on my intake form, please leave us a review and listen to the episode before you come on as a guest. Now I'm going to say not everyone, sometimes I do have the option to click, I'll do it after the show. I would say not everyone is definitely does that or not do that, but that is a place that you can also encourage people as your guests to come on and leave a review. At least they've listened to the show before they come on, right?
Yeah, that's a great idea. No, I need to, those are both awesome ideas. So thank you, all 3 of those.
Yeah, you're welcome. So those are just a couple little tips there for you. And now, have you had a really great podcasting guesting experience? Like, have you gone on a show and be like, this show is amazing. This is such a great experience.
Yeah. I've had a number of them for a number of reasons. One, it's been, somebody, I've been now a guest, through your organization. You guys have placed me on a lot of shows, which has been awesome. And, doing that is you get introduced to some really neat people. And one was this book that I had read by a guy named Phil Town called Rule Number 1. It's teaching about how you value stocks and investing. And this guy had created, his name is Sean Tepper, he had created a whole software program on how to use this method through, their service. And it's not that expensive. I was just like, this is awesome. Like, I wish this was around years ago. I would totally would have used this. And so just some great connections like that, things that you didn't know or things I didn't know about. And then it goes from, actually, I just had one that I was a guest on the other day, and I actually had Sean on my show, and I actually have another guy that I was booked on his show, and I'm having him come on my show. So, it's just amazing how, a lot of these worlds, you realize you have a lot of synergies, but you don't know until you go. And when you're a guest, it's actually not that high of a commitment. You have a 30-minute conversation and you see if
Yeah.
there's a connection, and you never know, maybe there'll be a way to work together, do some business. So it's kind of neat how that's a great way to get connected to people as well.
Yeah. And I think that's a really great strategy for you, like as a podcast host too. When you show up as a guest, you know how much work goes into those shows. So like I think you're like a much better guest than someone who doesn't have a show because you kind of understand what it takes to put it out there, right? So you're going to show up and
Yeah.
do your best and do a really great job for that host.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know what they're looking for. You know how to make it easier,
Yeah.
and honestly, it just helps you. I mean, the more we do, I think 10 videos on YouTube a month. We do four. I do 4 explainer videos. We've got the 4 podcasts that go up on YouTube, and then I do this kind of panel, and sometimes we have some breakouts from the panel. So usually around 10 videos. But the more opportunity you have to speak, you should take it. And I think it just is a great way to help you grow as an individual, as well as just help you reach more people.
Yeah, I love it. And when you're going out there and being a guest too, like it helps you like get that clarity in your messaging too. Like the more times you say it, the more times you're, reiterating the things that you talk about. I think the more concrete and confident you get at your messaging and clarity you have on what you speak about, which is also a really huge benefit, I think, of being
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. 100%. No, that's great.
Do you have any advice for people? So some of our audience haven't launched their podcast yet. They've been thinking about it. Do you have any advice? And if you would rewind the clock, what, if anything that you would do different than what you did?
So honestly, this is actually this is a little embarrassing, but this is actually like my 3rd attempt at a podcast over the years. I started 1 years ago. We recorded 8 or 10 episodes. It was going to be called All In Entrepreneur. We'd never launched anything. I had a partner. We didn't launch anything. And then I was going to launch one a few years ago, and then I found a partnership. I think I'd recorded probably 4 or 5 episodes, and then I just never launched it. And so the amazing thing is once you get started, and there are groups that can help. I know your group can help. There's other groups that can help with the production of podcasts. And I just think it's worth paying for stuff. I didn't like paying for anything when I started. Now I pay for lots of things because I realize it frees up my time. And so if it feels overwhelming or the tech side or all this stuff feels like a lot, just, find people to help you because it's not that expensive. And, it's something that once you actually get it started, you have something to lead people to, and you're out there actually creating value for other people. So I think the biggest thing is, there's that saying that the best time, it's an old Chinese proverb, it's the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today. And so it's just kind of like, you know what, all you can do is make the decision, like, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to start by, in 30 days or 2 weeks, and just do it. Just do whatever it takes and you'll get it done. And so it's actually not as hard now with all the technology. I just record a Zoom thing like what we're doing here, and you send it off to someone and they just take it and package it up and put it together. So it's not actually that much work.
Well, it makes it fun for you because then all you got to do is the fun part, which is recording. You don't have to do the rest of the stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Why I have a podcast agency because I didn't want to do all the extra stuff.
Yeah.
Came from secretly my own experience there.
That's
and
awesome.
I can totally relate. It took me 4 years to launch my podcast. And it was I just didn't know what, I didn't want to get committed to a single topic. And until I realized that it can change and evolve with you as your business changes and evolves, and you can have that real alignment again. So that fear of getting started, I wish I had just conquered that day one instead of 4 years in.
Yeah, totally. I also say too, another thing is the repurposing of content. I like to my podcast. I call it the Mailbox Money Show. And so I do it video and I do it audio, and I get as much, on the video side that I do the audio. So I say do them video as well, because Zoom records both. You just have it, you send it out, and then you can also use it for repurposed clips. You can use it for different things in the future. So the idea of you're just creating content. I mean, a lot of people that I follow say you should be able to try to find a way to repurpose content 5 times, right? You can do it. You can put a post about it. You can, maybe create a blog or a transcript around it. You can have clips taken from it, and you can have it turned into little social media things. Obviously you go on Instagram or other places if there's some really good information that's shared. So I think all of that stuff is super valuable.
Yeah. And, if you think about it too, you've just created a whole bunch of content now with your podcast. When you've repurposed it all, instead of thinking of podcasting, and I've heard some people, I don't want to start a podcast. It's like another thing I have to do. Well, if you make it the thing you do, you don't have to worry about the other things, right? Because you have it all covered. You have it all covered already with all the extra things you can pull from your podcast content, which is one of the things I love. It actually saves you time in the content creation side of things instead of having to do another thing, another post for this, another post for that. And I noticed that's one thing you're really great at is that when you go on as a guest on other shows, you're really good at promoting the show with the content that they've given you? So when you've been a guest on, what are some things that people have given you to promote with?
Yeah, so often they'll give, after when the show is going live, they'll say, "Here's all the links." So we'll, have my virtual assistant, my team help create a link of, it was an honor to be on this show. Or if I'm tagged, a lot of people will tag you on social media, so then you can just share and say, "Oh, this was such a great interview," or "I really enjoyed talking about this," and so it's just another way too that really the goal of whatever your purpose is in doing a podcast is as you grow your personal brand. It's the idea of trying to be everywhere, right? That people look and I go to events, but oh my gosh, you're everywhere online. Well, I'm not really doing a lot of this stuff. It's just I'm being tagged on things. I'm doing interviews, and then systems and teams and people just do all this for me, which is great. But it gives the perception that oh my gosh, you're just everywhere and you're an influence, whatever. But you have this. It's like the omnipresence, right? Everywhere I look, I see you on all the different platforms. I see you doing this and that. And that's what you want. And then people start to say, "Oh wow, this person's really serious. They're doing this. They're adding value. There are all these things are happening." And that's the cool thing about being guests on shows or being a part of having your own show.
Yeah, that's awesome. That omnipresence is so cool.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, secretly you're not even on social media anywhere. Someone else is doing it for you, right?
Yeah, it's really funny when you meet people that like they're personally not on social media at all, but they're getting like millions of views. And it's like just a team that's like taking all this stuff or this footage, and you're like, is that really like, is that kind of cheating? I don't know. But it works because then they have a lot of great things to share, and it's totally the way things work now. So
yeah, I was telling a class I was teaching yesterday on podcast guessing. I was telling them I've never logged into my Instagram account. They're
right.
like, I'm like, I know I don't do Instagram. Someone else does that.
Yeah.
So I do
great.
Facebook though. Facebook, I'm always there. You just got to pick the ones that you like, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
Awesome. So any last words from you, Bronson, before we let you go? This has been really helpful, I think, for people that are sitting there thinking about starting a podcast. They've got some ideas now in place. And anything last words you would share with them?
Yeah, I would say just, get started sooner than later. The sooner you can do it, the sooner you get episodes going. Don't make the bar too high. I mean, to me, I was like, I'll just do a weekly, you can do a weekly if some people in the industry are doing more, just start with something, and then you can see how it goes. And I like to batch stuff up and get stuff set up where I've got a little runway where I don't have to worry about, them. Okay, I've got a month worth or 3 or 4 weeks. Oh my gosh, I got to record a show today. So I'll record sometimes a few shows in a day just to kind of get things set up for the future. So I would say, again, life really has an action bias. What I mean by that is if you just take action, if you just take the steps to get toward where you want to go, you're going to correct. You're going to, I tried this. You're going to figure it out along the way. But if someone's just all in their head and we can't get out of that and we don't take any action, we're never going to get there. So if you just start taking some action, you'll figure out, I like this, or in my podcast, I'm doing this. I think I'm going to shift it over here. And it's just taking the steps and doing it. Because I think that's one thing I've realized is if you take actions toward your goals, that's something you will never regret. If you don't take action toward your goals, you will regret that. And you'll get to be whatever age, and you'll say, man, I wish I had quit, tried. I wish I had quit my job, or I wish I had started that business. Well, now is the time. You just do it. You just pick up the phone, you start creating the stuff, you make the contacts, you go to the events, whatever it is you do, and then you just do it. So as much as I can tell anyone, it's just get started with doing whatever it is you're toward your goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. And so where can we find more information about you, working with you? Obviously, go check out the podcast, guys, which is Mailbox Money Podcast. But where else, Bronson, do you want to send people to today?
Yeah, so I have this, we help passive investors or wealthy professionals, business owners to try to find ways to reduce tax, grow their passive wealth. I have this book I wrote. Everybody's concerned about inflation. It's called How to Use Inflation to Your Advantage. This is 52 color pages. It's a free download on my website at bronsonequity.com, so people can go there and check it out. We also have our investor deal list where we have people that will sometimes join us on buying apartment buildings or doing, we have an ATM machine fund where we partner with a large operator of ATM machines and just lots of cash flow, trying to help people to get toward their goals. So you can find out of that at bronsonequity.com, but I look forward to connect with anybody, even if it's just on the podcast stuff as well. I love talking about this stuff. So I'm on social media as well. So you can reach out to me there.
Awesome. And if you think Bronson would be a great guest for your show, make sure you also reach out to either us at Amplify You or Bronson and to be a guest on for having him on your show. Awesome. Thanks so much, Bronson. Have a fabulous day. Amplify You family. Make sure you go out there and listen to some podcasts this week. And if you haven't taken a step towards taking some action and getting yours launched, reach out for some support. We're here to help you. Have a great day, everyone. See you next week. Bye, Bronson. Thanks.
Bye. Thanks, Michelle.